Alright, so with 6.0 comes 4 new banners, obviously, and today I'll be going over which characters are actually worth pulling for. So in the first half we have Nahida and Lauma, and then in the second half we have Flins and Yelan. So I'm going to start off with Nahida here, and some people may think that she is still a very good character when in reality she has fallen off quite a bit and is directly power crept by Lauma, and even a C2 Nahida overall is going to be worse than a C0 Lauma. So if you don't have Nahida, there's pretty much no point in even pulling for her. And even in terms of personal damage, C6 Nahida is around the level of C0 Lauma. I don't know who's actually better, but yeah, just overall is a much better character than Nahida, and the fact that they're running together just makes Nahida just not worth being pulled for at all. It's just that her kit is just outdated compared to these newer characters and supports and such. Nahida basically just provides an EM buff and decent dendro application. What I mean is that if it's a multi-wave, if the content is multi-wave, she'll have to go back on the field to mark the enemies, because instead of it being something that follows your character or something that's placed on the ground, you have to mark the enemies with her skill to actually get the consistent dendro application. And yeah, so just at C0, there's pretty much no reason to run her over Lauma, and even at C2, like you have like a 0 Nahida, there's no point in getting 2 copies instead of like a C1 Lauma, because C1 Lauma is quite good, and that she becomes a healer at C1 as well, which allows you to run like a more heavy unit instead of like a dedicated support or so. Overall, Nahida I would not recommend pulling for, as she has fallen off quite a bit. It is kind of sad to see another Archon get power crept. So Venti, Zhongli, Raiden, and Nahida at this point have all been power crept by newer units, and yeah, there's pretty much no reason to get her. If you like her, you can still get her. She's still a decent character, but with Lauma coming out and being in the same version, Lauma is just a better character. And now I'm going to move on to Lauma, as she is the next character in Phase 1. In my opinion, she is the best character out of the 4 in 6.0. Very strong character, just better than Nahida like I've said before. Decreases Dendro and Hydro Res, and provides reaction damage bonus with the Lunar Blooms and Hyper Blooms. And Lauma just overall is a much better support for multiple other characters than Nahida. So Lauma is definitely a character I recommend pulling for. She can be difficult to build. If she's the solo Dendro character and she's not on field, you're going to need up to 180 EM, but just on average you're going to need 150 EM, and you have full EM main stats, a crit circlet, and since you also want crit on her because her Lunar Blooms can crit, you're going to want to have EM main stats with crit rate, crit damage, which are the most difficult artifacts to get in the game. Of course, you can craft like one artifact a month in the set that you want on her with EM and double, but yeah. Although she can still use Deepwood or the new artifact set coming out in 6.0, and with 6.0 releasing, you do get double artifact drops, I'm pretty sure, for the first week, or it's some sort of event during 6.0, we'll get double artifact drops. So if you play any Dendro or like Bloom related, Lauma is definitely a character I'd recommend pulling for. And if you plan on pulling Nefer in 6.1, she will most likely be a best in slot teammate for her. Moving on to Phase 2, I'll start with Yelan. And Yelan is still a good character, definitely not as strong of a pull as she was in the past, as for most case scenarios she's kind of just like a side grade in teams, not really an upgrade, as Xingqiu has more Hydro application and Furina has more damage bonus. Her burst still is good with the 50% damage bonus increase. That is still quite strong, but Furina I believe gets up to 75% damage bonus. And then if you need more application, like I said earlier, Xingqiu does just have better Hydro application and more consistent. And overall, as a sub DPS, Yelan is still good, but she can't really compare to the newer like support sub characters. So overall, still a very strong character, and just like if you don't have many on your account, I would still recommend going for her. There is a chance that Farina reruns in 6.1, and overall Farina is just better than Yelan in my opinion, except with hype. But Yelan is still a strong character, somewhat easy to build, and yeah, definitely not the worst character of the patch in my opinion. It's honestly Nahida, just with Lauma being released, but I wouldn't say Yelan is really the greatest character that you should be pulling for, but still a relatively strong option. And finally, I'm going to end off with Flins. I don't know too much about him, but I do know that without an Nefa, he is noticeably weaker. It's kind of similar to Skirk and Escoffier, but if you do have a Nefa with Flins, he is one of the strongest DPS characters in the game from what I've seen, and overall he is a strong DPS, and with future Nodcry characters coming out, he could get more support over the version and could get just even stronger. And overall, he is looking to be the best electro carry in the game, so even better than Varessa, which is just even more power creep in terms of electro DPSs. And overall, his teams are somewhat flexible. His best team is Flins, Sucrose, I believe, and then just one off-field Hydro. And overall, I think he is probably the second best character in the overall patch. A strong character, not necessarily, but still a very good DPS and better than most current DPS characters in the game. Alright, so overall, Lauma in my opinion is by far the best character in the patch, and is best ender support in the game, and is going to be even better with future characters coming out and Nodcry like Nefer in 6.1, and that's why I'm going to be putting her at the first slot. Then I'm going to be putting in Flins in second, just being the now best electro DPS in the game most likely. I'm not really sure with the nerfs that happened in the beta, but overall very strong character and will be good for your account, especially with future characters coming out that could buff him. And third, I'm going to have Yelan. Overall, yeah, still a good character, but just isn't as valuable as she was in like previous versions. Then I'm going to end it with Nahida being the worst. It is kind of sad to see this, especially with how hyped up people were for Nahida, and it would pretty much just not make sense at all to not get her in the past, and now there's pretty much no reason to get her. So I am glad I actually skipped on all of Nahida's banners, despite having all hate them. But now that Lauma has dropped, there's pretty much no reason, or very few reasons, to actually have Nahida. Of course, this is my opinion on this ranking I have here. You can pull for whoever you want, get the characters that you like the most, and yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe, or comment below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.